a point several years ago where Democrats and Republicans were on the same page about getting rid of Golden Week. Would it be all right if they were in agreement to cut that?
Well, you're correct. This is a nonpartisan case. This transcends partisan politics. We would welcome any solution that would increase access for voters.
One of the things that Secretary Husted says is that these hours that he set are backed by the Bipartisan Election Officials Association. If they have support, bipartisan support for these hours, why are you challenging them?
Sean can speak to that.
Sure. Well, voting is not a partisan issue. So, we're looking forward to the day when all political parties can actually come together and talk about ways to expand access to the ballot instead of restrict it.
That doesn't really answer the question, though. I mean, if Democrats and Republicans on county boards support the early hours, why would you oppose them?
The early hours supported. If early hours were supported, we would be glad. We're attacking the slashing of hours. We're attacking the reduction of hours that eliminate all Sundays, all nighttime voting, evening voting, and all same-day registration.
So are there hours then that you're proposing? Are you suggesting that this should be back in the hands of counties individually?
We're fighting these cutbacks, and so, that's what we're trying to do. And so the status that was before, where counties were left to their discretion, that is what we're seeking a return to.
So even if those counties would then say no to early voting hours?
That's not this case.
But before you said set statewide hours, there were instances where counties did decide to cut early voting hours, and it created a partisan gridlock, which then Husted broke the tiebreaker.
This case is focused on the directive that is forcing all 88 counties into the same hours.
So what you're seeking is a return to counties setting their hours, regardless of when those hours went.
Can you speak in the mic?
Sure. We're seeking to undo Directive 2014-06.
Which would leave it up to the counties, correct?
That's correct.
So what would the early voting landscape look like if you were successful?
If we were successful, we would return to the situation where counties are left to their discretion to decide early voting hours. And there would be no directive forcing all 88 counties into the same exact early voting schedule. And we'd also have the first week of the early voting return.
Can you elaborate on the advantages of the counties having their own say on early voting hours?
What we're seeking to do in this lawsuit is to prevent the Secretary of State from unilaterally forcing all 88 counties into the exact same restricted early voting schedule.
Sean, one of the things that happened in 2012 was that there were a number of counties, because the election boards are 2-2, were deadlocked, and Secretary Husted stepped in and broke the deadlock votes. So, couldn't he essentially end up doing the same thing, but on an 88 county basis?
If that were to happen, I can't speculate on what we might do.
Can you speak to the legal ground why you think it would be successful? What will the court have to legally find in order to toss this directive and reinstate or Golden Week?
Sure. There's basically two legal grounds. The first is under the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution. That's the similar grounds that was raised in the Obama for America litigation in 2012. The second ground is Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And the court will have to find, and we believe that the court will find, a discriminatory impact arising from these cutbacks.
I was going to say, it's part of the legal problem, or part of the issue you're raising, is that when you cut these voting hours or these days, that it disproportionately impacts certain segments of the population. Would it be a tougher argument if the numbers found that everybody voted equally on each one of these days?
We believe that the numbers will show that African Americans overwhelmingly use early voting in person as compared to white voters in Ohio.